So in today's video, I want to speak about something that has been in my mind for a while. That is the fact that the research of consciousness contains a component of high strangeness to it. There's all the things that I've been speaking about in the latter videos might come might come forward to many people as something very weird, very esoteric, very strange, scary, outright nonsense. I had lately. I've been having more now that the latter few months I've been able to put a little bit more attention to this project. I had more subscribers than people unsubscribing. Nevertheless, I've been having some people simply unsubscribing as soon as I upload a video that does not conform part of what they thought I was talking about. Some people think I'm making an apology for Christianity. Some people think that I'm just talking nonsense. But in any case, into this video, what I want to address is that despite the high strangeness, despite approaching these topics which might seem scary or weird or very hard to understand, the underlying reality, according to the things that I researched, according to the things that I've seen, that I've been updated in the research of consciousness, it seems that the underlying reality is a positive one. And the word quote-unquote love is at the core of it. Now, this is something that even for me is very hard to understand, because what exactly is this quote-unquote love? And for me it was very baffling that some of these scientists are going into these topics with very rigorous standards. And what they're finding in the reports is people saying it's all about love. So all of this comes as very strange and very post some of the topics that I've been speaking about lately. Some of my videos have been on egregores, on the alien phenomenon, on negative altered state of consciousness experience. I want to go into the whole topic. I don't want to leave things behind. I see that one of the mistakes that people are doing is just speaking about consciousness, all about love, all about these things, but you have to take into account that a lot of people are having these negative experiences as well, or more accurately, they are perceiving the experiences as negative. Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. One of the reasons why I have decided to approach these more negative topics sometimes is because I personally found it hard to believe that that was the ultimate reality. That yes, there are a lot of, when you go into near-death experiences and you go into the hellish experiences, you find out that some of these hellish experiences are very, very well detailed and very graphic in nature. When you go into the research of antigens, you find the same thing. A lot of people come out from these experiences highly traumatized with long-lasting negative effects from it. And I believe that if we just sweep that under the carpet, it's just gonna bulk up and at some point it's gonna come out. And I don't think that is a positive or a good idea to live in fear of these things. And I find it very hard to believe that this is the ultimate reality, that there's some very dark force at large trying to get us. Today we live in a very nihilistic society where in the comfort of our disbelief we feel secure, we feel safe, because we don't have to deal with any of those negative things. Anything that relates to a larger negative force in the universe is completely discarded, because at the same time we believe there's not a larger positive force in the universe. But what if there was both of them? So when going into these negative experiences, I realized that in a lot of situations, this main quote-unquote negativity comes from people not understanding or not willing to go into the experience and they become afraid of it. And many of the negative antigen report experiences that I've dealt with, I see that people usually say that they felt that they were gonna die, that they were just gonna let go and something very bad is gonna happen. They get scared of the beings that they met on whatever dimension they went to, and these beings, as it is stated in the literature on antigens and psychedelics, these beings are quite aggressive at getting people to take them and to show them things and to bring them to new realizations. And a lot of it also, and this also happens in near-death experiences, is that when people are going through the negative experience, they go into parts of their own psyche, into unresolved personal issues, and they often see familiar faces, familiar persons that they have interacted with their lives, whether their mother or their best friends or their partners, and they turn into these other beings or the demons and so on and so forth. It has to do with these unresolved issues, and I find that very interesting because a lot of the people who go into the antigen experience, for example, they go into them to heal, and a lot of people claim that this is medicine. This is a natural way to heal. What I find very interesting in both near-death experiences and antigen experiences is that why would these... Let's think of these two things. Let's think that it is our brain creating the experience. And the other side of it is that there's an external force. There are external entities who are somehow very interested in dealing with our personal traumas, in dealing with our unresolved issues, and they manifest all these creations and all these experiences in our minds. In either case, regardless of whether you think this is a hallucination or this is a real experience, why would either your brain or some external entities be so concerned about your mental health and about you resolving your own personal issues and about you creating new thought patterns which are gonna help you in having a more balanced and healthier life? A life full of meaning. This is what people who go through these experiences come back with. A lot of people, as I said, have these negative, long-lasting effects where they just don't understand. Their reality was just crushed in front of them. But the bulk of it, the majority of people come back from these experiences with a new outlook on life, with a new positive idea of life. And more importantly, as I said, living in this nihilistic society, they come back with meaning. This is specifically one of the reasons why they are starting this serious research on antigens and DMT and psilocybin and all of these things, because it helps treat depression by giving this meaning. Now, I'm going to be making that video where I go into the actual research and what's actually being showing having to do with brain waves, going into a different pattern when people are going into these experiences and their brain connecting in different ways, and what this could mean, going with the ORCO-R, Orchestrated Objective Reduction from Penrose and Hameroff, which is a little bit more complicated to understand. I'll be going into that, but for now I really felt the need to make this video, and I'm gonna be making a couple more having to do with the Epicurean paradox and with and continuing with the outline as well, because I have left that behind for a bit, but I think that's also an important part of it. But in any case, as I was saying, this is one of the reasons why the research on antigens and psychedelics and all of that is getting serious now. Whether we understand it or not is a different situation. I'm gonna link that video somewhere along the screen. The issue that people have in this generation nowadays, as I've been saying, is this nihilism. Of course, when you go into these experiences, into the antigen experience, and realize that there are beings or your brain or something is showing you that there's something more to life, there's something more to existence than a 9-to-5 job, than this having no meaning, that having no idea of the afterlife, than believing that all that exists is negativity and suffering and pain, and you're opening the news and seeing countries about to go to war, seeing a pandemic on the go, seeing how awful and violent can people be to each other. Of course you're gonna be depressed. Of course you're not gonna have any will to live, any will to have any sort of meaning. But when people are shown these realities, it sort of shakes their world, and they start understanding that there might be something beyond. Now, philosophies and positivity have existed all along, and this was one of the purposes of religion in the past, giving some sort of meaning, despite of how inefficient it was created. It gave some sort of meaning. This is why Friedrich Nietzsche said, God has died. What will replace God? We have not found that today, but we're beginning to find it. Now, this is one of the reasons why I created this outline. It is because I believe we have enough data, enough research, and enough leads to try to understand and create an outline of what's really going on in the underlying reality of nature. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche said God has died. What he meant is all these dogmatic religiosity, all these dogmatic ideas, all this nonsense, it has died. Our society killed it. One of the issues with that is that religiousness, that those ideas created meaning for people and created as a moral guideline for people, even though it was based on the wrong in the wrong things, in the wrong situations. It gave that moral guideline. So what would replace it? So far, nothing has replaced it, and people live entrenched in nihilism, in basic things, in material things, in TikTok fads, in whatever immediate thing that can distract their minds from the bigger questions in life, from the question of meaning, the question of evil, the question of the afterlife, and else. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche actually had a term for this society. He called them the Bugle Bunch. So the idea of Nietzsche was that in order to replace this inefficient, this inadequate Christian world or outlook of Christianity and the religious world, which did create some sort of a meaning, man was gonna have to create their own meaning, and he came with the idea of the Übermensch, the Overman, this superior human who would create their own values, who would create his own meaning, and take on the hardest tasks at hand and follow through and all these things. So that was the idea that emerged from this phenomenon of God dying. Now, in my personal opinion, I see that this is happening in today's society. We have the bugle bunch. We have people who have no meaning at all, who are just living by the day and trying to get as distracted as possible while following the path of a structured society which does not really fulfills them. And this is why we have a current epidemic of depression, and this is why we're doing this research on antigens. But at the same time, I see these Ubermensch emerging. And now there's these two types of social profiles that we have today. The people who are like not just wanting to be distracted, and the other who is just pursuing to become as rich as possible. This is the highest value today in our society, to become as rich and as successful as possible. This idea, the hustle mentality, some people call it, and the idea that perhaps there's something more than that really scares people. But as I said, I approach these negative experiences and these high strangeness topics because I want to confront and find what truly is underlying reality. And now, I also don't believe that this is the ultimate goal of man, of society, of existence. This for this hominid to become rational and to create as much wealth and to survive and to be the strongest of the tribe I do not believe that that's all there is, because that is sadly the basicness of our current society. I do not believe that this is the Overman that Friedrich Nietzsche had envisioned in his theories. I do not believe that this is the Overman, the ultimate evolution of man, the ultimate focus of existence. This man who is focused on, as I said, just getting as much wealth, as much power. All of this comes from fear. This idea, and it also makes sense why people are so depressed, why people are so broken, why people just want to distract themselves, to think that this is the highest possible, the pinnacle of humanity, to be this I'm gonna call it bungled overman who just cares about wealth, who just cares about survival of the strongest, who just cares about creating their own meaning. And who are the leaders of our society? Is it these multi-billionaires who are having their own little Cold War amongst themselves to see who's gonna go to space first in a private sort of rocket or something of that nature? Is this the epitome of society? It is this kind of thinking that emerges from fear, from fear of losing out, from fear of not having the status, of not having the wealth, of not having resources. This is a fear-based mentality, and the fact that a lot of the evil in the world, I had to review and edit a lot of parts from this video because I started to speak about evil, but I'm gonna wait for that for another video having to do with the Epicurean paradox. But if you think about it, most of the evil in the world comes from this fear of losing, fear of losing resources, of not having enough to provide for yourself or for your family. All of this fear is what has caused the wars, etc. So of course, when people are depressed and look at their society and they think that it's only this race to acquire resources, this race for wealth, they're gonna look at the world in a very hostile way. And whenever I go into these themes of negative encounters in altered states of consciousness or the UFO phenomenon, I have a lot of people just being afraid and talking about conspiracies and talking about the existence of the devil and the existence of all of these things, which there might be some truth to some of the things they say. There might be a negative force in the universe opposed to a positive force in a deeper sort of push and pull of creation. However, all of this mostly comes from a fear-based mentality. And now this fear-based mentality has been in evolution in our society, in our DNA for a long time. And this is the core of our current society, as I said. This is what we know that man is. When you think about, this is another big philosophical question, is man bound to be good or bound to be evil? Is there something that makes man to be good? Is the destiny of man to be good or to be evil? There is much to say about the debate on morality, and as I said, religion was one of the things who would modulate morality, even though it was based on fear as well, because that morality was conditioned. You are to be moral, otherwise God will punish you. He will send you to hell, the worst place that you can imagine. That was the fear-based morality. That was the slave morality also that Nietzsche coined. But this is where the research of consciousness comes forward. When I say research of consciousness, I mainly speak about altered states of consciousness, the reports of altered states of consciousness which are repeating, which are being stacked, which are being researched and taken seriously by science as we speak. And these are near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, abduction phenomenon, antigen research, psychedelics, etc., etc. All of these often, as I said, they are high strangeness. Can be very weird and negative in a way. But as I said, once you get past of that negativity, you start wondering why do the entities or the brains of people who are creating these experiences, as a lot of people think it's only their brains, but there's a lot of arguments against that theory. Why do these entities, or why do their brain cares about them getting over an emotional trauma? Why do they care about fixing them and healing them? Why? This, to me, tells me that there's something else. And not only that, when you go into the research of near-death experiences and you find that most people are having some sort of quote-unquote life review. I've spoken about this. I'm going to link it somewhere along the screen. It's not a judgment like our ancient philosophies used to think. It is a life review, and people say that they feel everything through the eyes of others, literally, quite literally, through the eyes of others, as if they are not themselves. They are them, and they are the other person. There's no ego. There's something beyond. There's seems to be some sort of purpose, and all of them come saying the same thing. It's all about love. They meet this quote-unquote light, which is all-encompassing love, and they talk about it in ineffable ways. They say that it is not the love that we know, our love between family, love between partners, love between friends. It is something beyond that. It is unconditional, and it is all-encompassing. It is literally a force, according to them. When you go into the literature of the UFO phenomenon, I know lately I've been uploading a few videos about this, and in most of them I get someone telling me or going to my inbox and saying, oh, this is a huge conspiracy, and they start linking a bunch of conspiracies and whatnot. A lot of the of course there might be some aspect of that. There might be a negative aspect to the whole idea. Who knows? There might be a war in the cosmos for all we know. However, most of the channelers, most of the literature that we have, say the same thing that people who go through near-death experiences and who go through these entheogen experiences are saying. There's a higher force, there's a higher game at hand, and you are in a process of evolution. All of it, at the end of the day, is about this love. All of it is about evolving. Now, we have no way to prove this. We simply do not. And I am trying to look at it rationally. This is why I make the argument that there's been this force in our societies, in our cultures, which has been pushing forward towards better social rules and better ways to structure our society. You cannot deny that there's a force that leads us towards that. Now, I know this all comes, as I've been saying, high strangeness, very weird, very hard to understand. I have some theories about it, which I will be speaking about in the future, about the Epicurean paradox and the origin of creation, of what some of the tales say, which goes in hand with everything that we have right now. However, this is not something that people are making up. This is something that a lot of people are reporting about through different means, through different reports, different sorts of experiences. At some point, when you get all of these reports stacking, it has to stop being anecdotal experience and it has to become data. And that's the original purpose of the outline, when you overlay them with ancient philosophies and new theories, and everything goes through, everything makes sense to each other. That's where we can start defining these new things. And as I said, I am not speaking about conspiracies. I'm not speaking about negative things. I'm not speaking about the devil and whatnot. I'm not speaking in a dogmatic fashion. I am speaking about the fact that the underlying reality might be more positive than we think. And if our current society, in this epidemic of depression, in this epidemic of nihilism, would start to understand that perhaps there's something else, a higher purpose, meaning, perhaps the fact that we are much more than we ever thought we were, as we assume, because everybody assumes that we are more than we think we are, but at the end of the day, there's a voice within us telling us that we are less than we are. And if all of this came based from data, based from reports, based from research, instead of strange philosophical ideas from people based on a fear mentality, if this new research on consciousness and the ideas coming from it, as we always strive to achieve truth, perhaps this new research and these new ideas would be the replacement of what Nietzsche theorized was gonna be the void left by the death of God. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. A Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.